नमः विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यभावी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरा भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 हे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम जाम हरे हरे जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमदाभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तरशतशि श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण कुंभ गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की जय, वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय, मायपुर धाम की जय, गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, नर्मदा माई की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी की जय, समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंद हरि हरि बोल। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण विष्णाय श्रीमद्भक्ति कास स्वामी नाम। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदगमनं श्रीगुरुन्वैष्णवां श्रीरूपं चाग्रजातं सकलरत्नादन्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादां सकललिता विशाखान्वितां नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय श्रीमते भक्तिविकास स्वामिनिधि नामिने नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त नमस्ते सारस्वतीदेवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। अखंडमंडलाकारं व्याप्तमेन सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। हरे कृष्ण। तो आज सॉरी, आई एम वेरी सॉरी। तो today we are going to continue to read on, so welcome devotees for yet another session on online reading of Mothers and Masters book, written by His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Swami Maharaj, published by Bhakti Vikas Trust and dedicated to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So because we are giving so many classes, so many Hindi class, Telugu speaking, so many languages come in. So we're continuing to read from page number 93, from section 1, entitled Women Masters or Mothers, and the topic is sex, dissatisfaction and family decline. I hope everybody is able to hear me. Am I audible? I think I am audible to everybody. Yes, I am audible. Am I audible or not? Devotees, yes, I am audible. So continuing, sex dissatisfaction and family decline. As previously quoted, Srila Prabhupada writes that because demons do not follow Vedic injunctions, especially those stating that women should not be given independence, the moral condition of women is not very good now, and marriage is practically an imagination in human society. Srila Prabhupada further explained that the implications of this are enormous. Faithful, affectionate, protected women form the basis of happy homes, without which there can be no peace in society nor spiritual progress for the common man. Modern civilization is not strictly following the Vedic injunction. Therefore, especially I have seen in the Western countries, there is no home practically. There is no homely happiness because women are allowed to mix freely and there is no protection. They are not married. There is no husband. The father also does not take care. As soon as the girl becomes 15, 16 years, she goes away. Therefore, I have practically seen there is no home, no peace. There is no peace in the Western countries. These are very important things that soft-hearted women should be given protection. They should be trained how to become faithful wife, affectionate mother. Then the home will be very happy. And without happiness, we cannot make any spiritual progress. We must be peaceful. This is the preliminary condition. Therefore, as far as possible, the Vedic injunction is that there should be division in the society, Varna Ashrama. Clearly, a major factor in the decline of family stability is an inordinate emphasis on sex. Emphasis on sex is a symptom of the mode of passion, which by its very nature is dissatisfying. And dissatisfaction leads to instability. As Lord Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita, that happiness which is derived from the contact of the senses with their objects and which appears like nectar at first but poison at the end is said to be of the nature of passion. Actually, family stability derives from a sense of duty, responsibility, and dharma, which are symptomatic of the mode of goodness. That which in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like nectar, and which awakens one to self realization, is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness. Even if in the beginning some difficulty is felt by maintaining the mode of goodness, actions in the mode of goodness must promote happiness because such activity elevates one to the platform of renunciation. On the contrary, for those who do not cultivate the mode of goodness, lust can never be satisfied. The ensuing dissatisfaction spawns strife between spouses, and eventually one or both of them may seek solace in illicit sexual partners. Vaishnava Grihasthas must know that actual satisfaction lies only in surrender to Krishna, and that indulgence in sex for any purpose other than procreation is a block to advancement in Krishna consciousness. Men and women are different. As Srila Prabhupada posited, how can a man and woman be equal? The woman have to give birth, she has to become pregnant. Why can the man cannot become pregnant? Biologically and psychologically, men and women are different. A woman's body is quite different from a man's body, and her mentality is different from that of a man. Consequently, her social role must be different. Srila Prabhupada also pointed out there is a natural distinction between men and women. How can it be changed? Women are meant for certain activities, just as men are. You may try to change this artificially, but basically it cannot be changed. Sane civilizations recognize this and accordingly ascribe distinctive social functions to men and women. Particularly, Varnashrama Dharma is based on the understanding that men and women are spiritually equal yet have different social duties, Swadharma, which at once correspond to and fulfill their respective natures, Swabhava. Varnashrama Dharma is Varnashrama Dharma is designed so that both men and women of all social classes are facilitated in fulfilling their various functions so that all can advance towards spiritual perfection, although not all in the same way. Within Vedic culture, women are ordinarily regarded as less intelligent, and austerity and philosophical inquiry aimed at attaining ultimate reality has always been an overwhelming male project. Yet, women also have an important spiritual advantage. Women in general are unable to speculate like philosophers, but they are blessed by the Lord because they believe at once in the superiority and almightiness of the Lord and thus offer obeisances without reservation. The Lord is so kind that he does not show special favor only to one who is great philosopher. He knows the sincerity of purpose. For this reason, only women generally assemble in great number in any sort of religious function. In every country and in every sect of religion, it appears that the women are more interested than the men. This simplicity of acceptance of the Lord's authority is more effective than showy, insincere religious fervor. Previously, throughout the world, it was unquestioned that men and women have particular roles according to their specific physical and psychological propensities and abilities. Generally, men take charge and women play a more subtle, subdued role. This is the natural order as well as a defining feature of Varnashrama Dharma. For instance, many great Kshatriya heroes fought in the battle of Kurukshetra, whereas their wives remained at home. Ladies are not aggressors, they are sacrifice personified. Even today, in countries wherein women are expected to work within the society, Some occupations, such as secretaries, nurses, elementary and middle school teachers, and cashiers, are dominated by women, whereas others, including wielding, construction, sports, commentary, and politics, are primarily male domains. It should be simple to understand that certain tasks are better suited for women and others for men. But feminists wish to override this natural order and try to make women exactly equal to men. Failure to recognize such differences and attempting to make everything all one is akin to impersonalism. Srila Prabhupada noted, the impersonalist philosophers have given indirect impetus to the abominable mundane sex life because they have overstressed the impersonality of the absolute ultimate truth. Consequently, man without information of actual spiritual form of sex has accepted perverted material sex life as the all in all. Feminist folly. A major cause for the highly disturbed condition of the modern world is the selfish individualism, whereby everyone wants to pursue his own interests, caring little for the well being of others. The attitudes underlying feminism typify such selfishness. What can I get for me? Show the men out of the way and to hell with the kids. Especially the more militant forms of feminism engender hatred of men while accusing men of hatred of women. Along with the word misogyny, hatred of women, another prominent feminist buzzword is sexism. Discrimination based on gender, especially discrimination against women, and the belief that one gender is superiority to other, especially that men are superior to women. Although feminists complain of male chauvinism, they nonetheless typically assert that men are morally superior to men. Illogically, they do not admit this to be sexism. Especially in the West, feminists have been so successful in promoting their propaganda that persons, especially men, who dare to disagree are labeled misogynist and sexist. Here there is a footnote. However, feminism could never be succeeded had it been promoted only by women. Without the strong support of certain men, feminism could not have flourished. Hence, feminism is not the purpose of preserve of females. Many men are strident feminists, as indeed also a growing number of women are anti feminists. For instance, if one says that women should not be allowed to wander alone at midnight, he is considered to be a woman hater for advocating a curtailing of their freedom. But obviously, there is a problem with women being alone in the public at midnight, obvious at least to anyone whose brain hasn't been addled by feminism, famously told by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. Feminists maintain that women have long been mistreated and therefore the emancipation of women is the only way forward for progressive society. Now we are so advanced, we are rectifying the antiquated, unjust, stultifying attitudes of the primitive past. But that will not solve their problem. Rather, such thinking is itself a perennial problem, for feminism has been a major factor in worsening the self centeredness, immorality, psychological disturbances, and perversity in the materialistically developed countries and increasingly all over the world. Particularly, so called free sex and commercialization of the female body are curses upon manhood, womanhood, ironically inflicted in the name of liberation and progress. The concept of gender equality translates as equality to enjoy the senses. Hence, equal rights is the notion that women should have at least the same opportunities for sense enjoyment as do men. The concept of individual constitutional rights is based on presumption that sense gratification is the primary goal of life, and therefore the central goal of all of society's institutions, laws, and customs is to maximize the potential for each individual to obtain sense enjoyment. By extension, the central purpose of feminism equality, and equal rights is to maximize women's potential for obtaining sense enjoyment. Ongoing efforts to transform from a patriarchal to a feminist society are meant to transfer the privileges of the elite members who possess the greatest facility for sense gratification from men to women. Therefore, feminism, like all other isms in this world, is founded on the useless pursuit of sense gratification, which cannot but result in misery, both individually and collectively. Gender equality is a mythical notion, and therefore all attempts to institute it simply result in various contrived, complicated stratagems to facilitate women's illusory independence. Because it is founded on a misunderstanding, feminism can do no good for the world. It is just another in the fertile history of speculative ideologies that have been proposed as solutions within the material situation. However, the very nature of material existence is problematic, and all attempted solutions simply create more problems. Analogously, often the symptomatic treatments used in modern medicine not only fail to cure but also create undesirable side effects, whereas the ancient science of Ayurveda is based on deep understanding of human physiology and prescribes gradual treatments aimed at eradicating the root cause of any ailment. Similarly, Vedic knowledge of the human condition provides the ultimate spiritual solution to all material adversities. Feminists claim that the feminist movement has much improved the position of women. Formerly, women were repressed, but now they are free to explore the opportunities of the world. However, the opportunity that most liberated women explore is sex, which animals also have full freedom to explore. Freedom for women has rendered them usable objects for others' gratification, instruments of sex enjoyment, out in the marketplace offering their services for pay. So, how are they better off? As Srila Prabhupada observed, independence for women means miserable life. In this age, so many girls are unmarried and falsely imagining themselves free, but their life is miserable. I want to read once again. As Srila Prabhupada observed, independence for women means miserable life. In this age, so many girls are unmarried and falsely imagining themselves free, but their life is miserable. Several studies indicate that women are now less happy than in previous times. In the past, women would have one husband for their entire life. Now they have gained an illusory independence, yet have lost their innocence, purity, and dignity. But however much they may clamor for equality, their independence and self assertion have not earned them respect. And why should anyone who doesn't act in a respectable manner expect to be respected? Feminists would have us believe that the women who have bought into the perverse feminist propaganda are enjoying unprecedented freedom. But nowadays, women are actually more exploited than at any previous time in history. Women today are incessantly depicted as sex objects, not only in hard pornography, a multi-billion-dollar business, but even in regular movies and advertisements. Pretty women are converted into prostitutes who simply for the sake of some money shamelessly reveal their body to millions of men. This is extremely low class and a most degrading insult to womankind, especially to the millions of women who prefer to lead a respectable, restrained religious life. Furthermore, the very notion of freedom is wholly absurd, being that each of us is controlled in so many ways by higher ordinance. No one chooses where to be born or in what circumstances. Everyone must receive the karmic results of previous actions, especially women if they perform their natural function of bearing and caring for children cannot be free. They must depend upon others, which is a sane society primarily means the husband, and must accept responsibility to nurture the children. in the previous paragraph, there is a footnote. Feminists are divided over whether or not such commodification of the female body is desirable. Some feminists uphold that women should have the freedom to choose whether or not to become involved in pornography, whereas other feminists oppose it on the grounds that such involvement means pandering to the desires of men and perpetuating the male stereotyping of women as mere sex objects. But the latter camp is hardly likely to prevail, because feminism is indeed a ploy by powerful males for increasing the pool of available sex objects. Another footnote, sorry. Sinfully, feminists discourage women from marrying and bearing children, instead promoting opportunities for women, opportunities to degrade themselves. Feminists have stigmatized the dignified, sheltered life of religious wife and mother. They have brainwashed people to think it absurd that a girl should marry young, raise a family, and lovingly serve her husband and children as service to God. The legacy of feminism is a disaster. No one is happy. Stable family life is almost non-extinct, existent, and family values have largely been lost. Many feminists consider this to be a sign of progress, but that has been affected to their efforts in undermining the institution of family life, which they deem to be anachronistic, parochial, and restrictive of the human spirit. People are so messed up that they have redefined the concept of family to what they called homosexual and lesbian families. Two men or two lesbians marry, so called marry, in quotes, even a church if they so desire, and then adopt children. The children have two mothers and no father, or two fathers and no mother. Or sometimes a lesbian wife will be artificially inseminated with some unknown man's semen, and the baby that she delivers is considered the child of the two lesbian mothers. Oh Krishna, this is cultural genocide. Oh, yet is applauded by feminists. Footnote: that the movements for women's rights and for gay rights are intimately linked is unsurprising, for both insist a redefinition of traditional gender roles. Almost invariably, religious denominations that accede to feminist claims, for instance, by rewriting scriptures to render them gender neutral and by admitting women as clergy, shortly thereafter also embrace the demands of homosexuals. It cannot be expected that ISKCON's capitulation to feminism will not also be followed by a gay wave. Indeed, already the much publicized blessed of a gay union by a prominent, oh Krishna, ISKCON leader has gone uncensured by the GBC. See, Hridayananda Das Goswami blesses gay male couple. The link is given. Sinfully, okay, this page is over. Women's liberation is actually a very bad deal for women. Which is better, to have had more boyfriends than you can remember, or to be a respectable wife and mother? A girl whom I knew from childhood never married. She rejoiced in being sexually liberated, but now she is over 60. Her good looks are gone, and nobody cares for her. She never cared enough for anyone to commit herself to marriage. So, despite having had numerous sexual partners, she has no husband, no children, and no prospect for old age except loneliness as misery. Many such independent old women, finding themselves forlorn and wanted, become envious of young females, both unmarried and married, and deliberately try to poison their minds with misandric propaganda. They want that all females be free and miserable, like themselves, rather than be happy by submitting within their natural God given role. No wonder then that Srila Prabhupada pointed out how feminism, or the so called independence of women, has been a major factor in the ongoing massive degradation of human society. The feminist call for individual fulfillment is a masked plea for selfishness and irresponsibility. Although freedom and equal opportunities and rights for women might sound very good, Srila Prabhupada deemed it an artificially devised, puffed up concept of womanly life, whereby the moral condition of women is not very good now. Oh, another 2 pages are there. To be true in its name, feminism should make women more feminine. But the attempts of women to become equal to men have largely been through imitating masculine functions. After all, there are only two genders, and if women forswear the trappings of womanhood, then even while protesting their independence, they become compelled to adopt male role models to the extent that, in the name of equal opportunity, they also join the military and fight in wars. Put simply, women are not suited for warfare. Women on the front lines become a liability to the man. They cannot carry heavy weights like men, and they have lesser endurance. Furthermore, women are always a distraction for men, and in life or death circumstances, any amount of distraction is highly dangerous. It is also horrible to think about what happens to women who are captured by the enemy. Even in their home barracks, military women are regularly subjected to sexual harassment by male soldiers. Also, the nausea, easy fatigue, or sudden light-headedness that are typical of pregnancy and the need for maternity leave make women a liability, not an asset, to the military or any other organization that requires its members to function at optimal efficiency. Any sensible person can understand that women should be protected and not sent into combat. Yet the political correctness of feminism trumps common sense to the extent of risking national security rather than admitting the obvious. Women should be at home, and only men, if anyone, should be on the battlefields. Not only is gender equality often ridiculously and dangerously impractical, another example being women firefighters who are not physically competent for the job. It can also be blatantly unfair. For instance, the electoral system of in India reserves certain posts for women candidates, which thereby enforces undemocratic and unequal opportunities by disallowing their positions to men. In the name of eradicating inequality, another inequality is created. Thanks to feminism, women have lost their femininity. Anything you can do, I can do better, went the lines of a popular song of 1946, being a spoof of a woman taunting a man. Women seem to have taken this too seriously, judging by female boxing matches, bodybuilding, and other grotesque imitations of men and by women. Naturally, respectable women, those who are not victims of feminism, are completely turned off by brash, macho women who try to imitate the worst kind of men. And because women can never actually be the same as men, feminists try to make men more like women. In some ways, feminism has too simply exer- exacerbated exa- exacerbated the madness of totally confused demonic humanistic society. Srila Prabhupada summarizes the situation. Presently, women are given full independence like men, but actually, we can see that such independent women are no happier than those women who are placed under guardians. If people follow the injunctions given by the great sages, Shrutis and Smritis, they can actually be happy in both this life and the next. Unfortunately, rascals are manufacturing so many ways and means to be happy. Everyone is inventing so many methods. Consequently, human society has lost the standard ways of life, both materially and spiritually, and as a result, people are bewildered, and there is no peace or happiness in the world. Although they are trying to solve the problems of human society in the United Nations, they are still baffled. because they do not follow the liberated instructions of the Vedas, they are unhappy. Okay. Hare Krishna, Shivakumarji. You can continue to read if you are there. Demonic broad-mindedness.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Is it audible, Prabhu?
Yeah, audible, Prabhu. Little bit louder because naturally you're.
Okay, Prabhu.
Yeah, you can start.
Okay. Demonic broad-mindedness. Opponents of so-called women's liberation, whether within secular society or ISKCON, are liable to be criticized as not broad-minded. The concept of broad-mindedness is generally understood to mean giving wide scope to everyone to do whatever he likes. But this is totally opposed to the message of Bhagavad Gita, as is clear from multiple statements therein. For instance, the demons do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done, and he who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attain neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. Devotees of Krishna are supposed to accept all such statements of his, notwithstanding being scorned by persons sworn to egalitarianism. But even within ISKCON, certain members clearly have difficulty imbibing such instructions. They resemble secular feminists in criticizing devotees who follow Srila Prabhupada's example of advocating the restriction of the rights and privileges of women. This is redolent of Ardha Kukuti Nyaya, of hen logic. A farmer might like the half of his hen that lays eggs, but not appreciate the half that must be fed, and therefore chop off the chicken's head in an attempt to keep only the egg-laying portion, thus killing the hen. Similarly, to accept only those statements of Srila Prabhupada's that one likes, rejecting, ignoring, or imaginatively interpreting the others is tantamount to invalidating, killing his authority in its entirety. For if Srila Prabhupada's commentaries were wrong or irrelevant regarding even one point of Shastra, then nothing else that he has said would be authoritative unless it were confirmed by some other authority. Devotees who adopt such a stance regarding Srila Prabhupada's instructions have wittingly or unwittingly become enemies of those instructions. But to avoid the appearance of apostasy, they disguise their enmity by adopting a seemingly broad minded or moderate position in contradistinction to those devotees who follow Srila Prabhupada's example of opposing non traditional gender roles, whom they narrow mindedly and immoderately label as fanatics, misogynists, and even as the Taliban. It is true that many of the social aims of ISKCON's traditionalists largely parallel those of the Taliban, for instance, to institute the kind of gender differentiation that was almost universally accepted until the advent of liberal humanism. However, whereas the Taliban are truly malicious, their policy being to kill all who disagree with them, ISKCON's traditionalists simply referred to Srila Prabhupada's instruction regarding the role of women in a civilized society. Fortunately, we have Srila Prabhupada's books, including his purport to Bhagavad Gita 16.7, by which to mold our lives. Let not the traumas of the past frame the template for the future. Rather, we should take guidance from this perfect source. Why women need protection. Women, according to Vedic civilization, they are not recommended to have freedom. They should be taken care just like children are taken care of. You cannot give independence to the children, then it is not good for them. Similarly, women also should be taken care of. They should not be given freedom. That is not good for them. A vital role of women is not simply bear children, but to themselves be religious and of pure consciousness, and to unite with their similarly virtuous husbands so as to bring forth good progeny that will enhance human society and help prevent it from degrading. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 1.40, unprotected women become victims of unscrupulous men, and thus Varna Sankara, bad children are born, and the whole civilization is spoiled. Srila Prabhupada's purport to this verse is: good population in human society is the basic principle for peace, prosperity, and spiritual progress in life. The Varnashrama religion's principles were so designed that the good population would prevail in society for the general spiritual progress of state and community. Such population depends on the chastity and faithfulness of its womanhood. As children are very prone to be misled, women are similarly very prone to degradation. Therefore, both children and women require protection by elder members of the family. By being engaged in various religious practices, women will not be misled into adultery. According to Chanakya Pandita, women are generally not very intelligent and therefore not trustworthy. So, the different family traditions of religious activities should always engage them, and thus their chastity and devotion will give birth to a good population eligible for practicing in the Varnashrama.
Participating. Hare
Oh,
Krishna. It is eligible for participating in the Varnash.
okay, eligible for participating in the Varnashrama system. On the failure of such Varnashrama dharma, naturally the women become free to act and mix with men, and thus adultery is indulged in at the risk of unwanted population. Irresponsible men also provoke adultery in society, and thus unwanted children flood the human race at the risk of war and pestilence. Srila Prabhupada further elaborated on this theme in his purport to verse 5 to 21 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita 1.40 declares, Strishu dushtashu varshneya jayate varna sankaraha. When women are polluted, Varna Sankara unqualified children are generated, and when the Varna Sankara population increases, the entire world becomes hellish. Therefore, according to Manu Samhita, a woman needs a great deal of protection in order to remain pure and chaste so that her children can be fully engaged for the benefit of human society. Srila Prabhupada described how the policy of keeping girls unmarried leads to their exploitation. It is a regular policy that girls may remain unmarried and the drunkards and the meat eaters may take advantage of the prostitution. This is the policy. They have no sympathy. So many hundreds and thousands of innocent girls, they are like children and they are exposed to prostitution. They have no shelter. Now, these girls who are with us, they are feeling that we are giving some shelter. While presiding over a wedding, Srila Prabhupada offered other reasons why women require protection. The whole idea is that women requires protection. They are very innocent, the weaker sex. They should not be given freedom. That is very dangerous. Just like a child cannot be given freedom, it is dangerous. If I give a child freedom, all right, you cross this road, that means his life is at risk. Similarly, women are the weaker sex. Artificially, don't try to become one with man. That is not possible. That is not possible. Better to remain protected by man. In childhood, a girl is protected by the father. In youth, she is protected by the husband. And in old age, she is protected by the elderly sons. This is the three stages of woman. There is no fourth stage. That is nice. So, this system, the husband taking charge of the young girl, husband and wife in Krishna consciousness, it is very nice life. Introduce this, everyone will be happy. Also, women are self interested by nature and therefore they should be protected by all means so that their natural inclination to be too self interested will not be manifested. Nevertheless, being protected does not mean being micromanaged. No independence means they are well protected. No independence does not mean that she has no independence to act. No, she has got, but under protection. Just like there are some nations still now protectorate. America is protecting. America is a big nation and protecting another small nation. That does not mean they have no independence. They are also independent. They are acting like that. But because they are weaker, they should be given protection. Women are generally not only physically weaker than men, but are also very prone to be misled. Once, while lecturing in a university in Australia, I mentioned that women should be protected, and at the end, a female student rather skeptically asked me, why do women need to be protected? And I answered, from lusty men. She got the point. As Srila Prabhupada explained, a 16-year-old boy can travel all over the world, but it is very difficult for a 16-year-old girl to do so. Women complain about rape, but they will move about by themselves and often dressed in a manner that is calculated specifically to attract men. Nowadays, it is not uncommon in the big cities of India that unaccompanied women are on the streets in the middle of the night, which was unimaginable even only a few years ago. Nor are they likely to be prostitutes. For instance, they could be going to or returning from shift work in a call center or a hospital. But the freedom of women to wander alone in public at any time means that they cannot be properly protected and an increase of rape is inevitable. And what to speak of kidnapping? The pronounced upsurge in human trafficking and sex slavery, both of which mainly victimize females, could be curbed immediately if women would submit to restrictions that proscribe their venturing alone outside the home. Indeed, such crimes are so widespread and so atrocious as to themselves warrant a serious case for the legal implementation of such restrictions. Better that women be controlled than be subject to such terrible risk. Women especially need assistance and protection during the later stages of pregnancy when they are physically hampered, during the great strain of childbirth and the required several weeks of recovery thereafter, and when they have young children whom they must constantly care for. In traditional societies, wherein the natural ambition of a girl to possess not only more than one child but at least half a dozen is not crushed by artificial propaganda, most of the life of a woman would be centered around childbearing and rearing, and the question of her need to be protected does not arise. And after her childbearing period, a woman must undergo menopause, another potentially difficult time that can last several years. The body undergoes considerable hormonal changes and the mind can become quite disturbed. Women need help, care, and protection during this challenging period, which they can best negotiate within the shelter of a long established marriage. Another significant kind of protection that most women need is the emotional support of a man, without which they tend to feel insecure and thus dissatisfied or dysfunctional, even to the point of becoming a feminist. Often it is seen that women who are superficially renunciants try nevertheless to cozy up to a man, usually a renunciant, whom they admire. They cannot forswear their need for male shelter. Undoubtedly, this need for male protection is a major reason why formal renunciation for women is mostly discouraged within Vedic culture, wherein women are glorified for being chaste, not for being renounced. A man becomes glorious if he renounces family life for the sake of spiritual realization and thus becomes a genuine sannyasi. But such renunciation is not the norm for women. Srila Prabhupada noted, a female is never awarded the order of sannyasa because a female is never considered independent and sannyasa was never awarded to any female in the past by the great acharyas like Shankara, Ramanuja, etc. The female sannyasis are to be immediately understood as pretenders or prostitutes. Despite all this, feminist women absurdly oppose their need to be protected, considering it an offense or as being patronized or treated as a child. In so doing, they not only disconnect with reality, they also deny to men their natural role as protectors of women. By rejecting the goodwill of men, feminists inadvertently and in contradiction to their stated aims leave little but sexual attraction to factor in male female relationships. They also contribute to the overall decreased safety even of women who do not agree with their theories. Independent women are unprotected, exploited, and unhappy. Srila Prabhupada noted, in the name of freedom of women, they are being exploited. Foolish women are being cheated by intelligent men. When asked, how do you feel about women's liberation? Srila Prabhupada replied, so called equal rights for women means that the men cheat the women. Suppose a woman and a man meet, they become lovers, they have sex, the woman becomes pregnant, and the man goes away. The woman has to take charge of the child and beg alms from the government, or else she kills the child by having an abortion. This is the woman's independence. In India, although a woman may be poverty stricken, she stays under the care of her husband and he takes responsibility for her. When she becomes pregnant, she is not forced to kill the child or maintain him by begging. So, which is real independence? To remain under the care of the husband or to be enjoyed by everyone? Women cannot demand both protection and independence. That would be analogous to the inverse correlation between fast driving and avoiding fatal accidents. As the incidence of either of these increases, the other must decrease. Protection means inevitable restrictions. One who is under protection must voluntarily accept to be controlled and must also be submissive and grateful, for no one will be inclined to protect someone who possesses as an equal or competitor. Srila Prabhupada noted, Mukti means if you give up the artificial endeavor to become predominator and become situated in your original position, being predominated. Suppose a woman is trying to become man artificially, how long it will go on? How can she be happy? That is not possible. Actually, in the Western countries at least, we see that the women class want equal rights with men, and there is no distinction. But it is my experience that the women class are not happy in the Western countries. And still in our country, although we are so fallen, sarcasm, still our women class remains satisfied. Being predominated, they are happy. That is my practical experience. According to our Manu Samhita, women should not be free. Na stri swatantriyam arhati. Swatan, Swatantriyam is not allowed to the women class. Actually, we have seen and by experience those who are under the domination of the father when still they are not married or happy. Those who are under the domination of the husband after being married or happy. And those who are under the domination of elderly children are happy. Just like children should not be given freedom, similarly, women should not be given freedom. They should be given all protection. That is our Vedic culture. In summary, women should be under protection. They cannot properly utilize freedom. Independent women cannot be happy. That is a fact. In the Western countries, in the name of independence, so many women are unhappy.
Okay, one second. One second, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
I want to just see whether how much time does it take, so that one devotee has asked a question, so we need to answer that. And uh, maybe I can answer that question. You can read this vital role of grastas, and we can stop. We can read that. Yeah.
Okay, Prabhu. The vital role of grihasthas. Man and woman, as husband and wife, and as father and mother, are complementary to each other, and when harmoniously combined, they form an ideal family and thus contribute to the making of an ideal society. Society is comprised mostly of grihasthas, and their role is essential as it is they who give birth to, nourish, and sustain the members of all the ashramas. Grihasthas have the vital responsibility to bring forth good population by themselves, being self controlled and religious, Krishna conscious. The alternative is children born of lust. Varnashankara is unwanted population which disturbs the peace of the general society. In order to check this social disturbance, there are prescribed rules and regulations of Varnashrama Dharma by which the population can automatically become peaceful and organized for spiritual progress in life. Due to propaganda against the respectable dharmic way of living as conducted by Dr. Kamaraj and his ilk, modern society casts everyone in unnatural roles. The traditional familial relationship of father, mother, husband, wife, and so on are nowadays highly compromised and will gradually become practically unknown. In this chaotic situation, self controlled grihasthas can perform important preaching by demonstrating that even today it is possible and desirable to live an ideal family life according to religious principles.
Okay, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, we can stop and we can continue to answer the question. So the question is in page number 108. In page number 108, it is mentioned that unmarried girls yes, it is a regular policy that girls may remain unmarried and the drunkards and the meat eaters may take advantage of the prostitution. This is the policy. Srila Prabhupada described how the policy of keeping girls unmarried leads to their exploitation. It's a regular policy that girls may remain unmarried and the drunkards of the and the meat eaters may take advantage of the prostitution. This is the policy. They have no sympathy. So the question, it is mentioned that unmarried girls become advantage of meat eaters and drunkards. When tried to explain this fact for non-devotee friends, they argue that it is a mistake of men and their mentality has to be changed. Yeah, it is very difficult for unmarried women to take instructions because they have a mentality that men are wrong, we are right. So non-devotee friends with, I think they are women. So they think that the man should change their mentality. Like there was a movie called Pink. In that, the whole discussion was about women can dress in whatever way they want. Women can do whatever they want, but men should not question that. He should control his mind. So it is very difficult for an educated, career oriented, working and very ambitious woman explain about the higher principles of chastity and what I can say, and purity. It is very difficult for one. So that's why this book is meant for devotees, and for non-devotees, that's why Maharaj said to Indira Sakhi Mataji to write a book. So she wrote a book, How I Achieved Real Success. Maybe your non-devotee friends can be given that book. Maybe if they argue any other time, then okay, it is a mistake of men. But in Telugu, there is a proverb that if the banana leaf, it is said, if the banana leaf falls on the thorn, or thorn falls on the banana leaf, the thorn will not have any problem. The problem will be the banana leaf will be torn. So even if it may be the mistake of the men, they should change, but you are degrading yourself. uh, that is there. So they will change their mentality or not, but you they will you are commanding somebody's mentality to be changed, but at the same time you don't want to change. This is a fun. So there is a underlying mistake, or in the society, modern society, it's the upbringing itself is wrong. Their upbringing from childhood by the parents, by the modern educated parents, is itself wrong. So when that is wrong, then the whole building is wrong. So their whole mentality is wrong. Even in ISKCON, they are type of sorry, so-called Matajis. Uh, they even men are like that. Sorry to say like this. Men are not educated, trained in brahmacharya. Women are not trained in chastity. So both of them, they are like that. So it is not a blame game that women are not good or men are not good. So but you can't explain to the non-devotee friends. Only we can. Yeah, it is little bit difficult to explain. What we should answer, we can give them the book, How I Achieved Real Success. This book, where is that? Yes. So so I've given the link in the chat box. So if you want, you can order this book and distribute this book to all of your friends, non-devotee friends. I think Matajis, those who are outside Matajis, you can give this book, How I Achieved Real Success. They want to see success in their life, and a woman has written that book for women. Women writing about success for women. So this book is a good book for outside devotees to distribute. So devotees can distribute to outsiders. Please order this book for what is this? Modern educated women. Modern educated happiness guide. Modern educated women's happiness guide. This is. So you can order this book, and you can, if you have it, then you can read from that. There are so many instances in that book given. Okay, I think we can stop here, and we can, unless and until if there is any no other question to devotees. I suppose I've answered the question. If at all anybody has to say something, then they can raise the hand by clicking the mic button, so that I can give some devotees, those who can answer more clearly or somewhat more. Thank you. So we are going to continue from page number 114. Women should be married grihasthas, and not sannyasis should protect them. Okay. Until then, thank you very much, Hare Krishna, for coming and attending these sessions. So we will meet tomorrow. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Mancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindebhyev vacha paditanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And to get this book, so I have given the link in this. So devotees, those who want to order this book, women mothers and masters, so they can get this book. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.